All right, well, this is a show I've been looking forward to for a while. That 90s show. It dropped on Netflix yesterday, and I binged it last night. No lie, I did. I watched all 10 episodes. It was a fun watch because I think the first episode was the longest episode at 30 minutes, but if you take out the end credits and the fact they plugged in the That 90s Show trailer at the end of that episode, it's about the same length as every other episode. So episodes 2 through 10 range from 21 to 24 minutes, and I was watching on Netflix's speed booster, so I was watching the episodes at 1.5 times speed. I was done within like two and a half hours, give or take, and I did take a couple of breaks, but yeah, I like the show. I mean, if I were to give it a score as a whole, as opposed to doing a episode by episode review, I would give it probably like a 7.5 or an 8, but I think I'd stick at a 7.5 because if there is a season 2, I look forward to see what's coming next because it really did leave a few things open. Now, let me just talk about the fact that I have more positive things to say than negative. I mean, let me just kind of cap it off in terms of what my biggest negative thing was. The fact that this is the 90s. I mean, it starts off July 3rd, 1995. 1995. And it ends when they're all going back to school, so I would guess sometime in August. So Leia, who is the daughter of Eric and Donna, and being that, Eric, huge Star Wars fan growing up, Leia is a reference to Princess Leia. But she's in the hometown of Point Place for about a month. What is it, July 3rd? And I don't know when school started back for them, but I'm assuming sometime in like late to mid-August. So yeah, she's there for a little over a month. And the fact that there's so many 90s references from Blockbuster, a few songs like Kids of America, This Is How We Do It, I'll Make Love to You, things like that. Dial-up internet, and the list goes on. I didn't like how old it made me feel. I was born in 91, but there were just so many things I'm like, holy crap. Is this what it was like for people watching that 70s show when that came out in the early 2000s, I believe? But yeah, this show takes place 15 years after the ending of that 70s show, because that show ended as New Year's was going from 79 to 1980, and then this show picks up mid 1995. But in terms of just the positive, Kitty and Red Foreman, Deborah Jo Rupp, and Kurtwood Smith, they still got it. Hell, when they first aired the trailers, which I never did breakdowns for because I didn't have much to say, they still got it. They haven't missed a beat. They were great. So many returning characters. Of course, Donna and Eric there in the first episode. Donna actually pops up in the finale as well as one other episode too. I believe episode 5, Step by Step. And Fez pops up at the end of episode 2. He's in episode 3, and then he's in the finale. Jackie and Michael Kelso, they appear in episode 1. Leo has a couple of appearances in the series. He pops up, I think, twice. Fenton, Fez's rival, I remember him best as the guy who ran the wedding registry shop or something. I remember when Donna and Eric were trying to get things registered for their wedding. He proved to be, just a comic relief annoyance who always has something sassy to say. But his appearance in episode 10 had me dying because him and Fez going back and forth was great. But yeah, there was a good number of returning oh yeah, of course, Bob Pinciotti. How can I forget about Bob? My bad. Bob was in there for one episode. I think it was the birthday episode for Leia. And aside from that, I believe that is all in terms of the returning characters. But of course, sidebar, we all know why Hyde wasn't in the show due to what's his name? Danny Masterson, the guy that played Hyde in the original series, due to certain allegations and court hearings, he wasn't involved. That's all I got to say on that. I was sad that Hyde wasn't even referenced. Like, in terms of the actor not being in the show, yes, I can understand due to the Me Too Time's Up climate and the allegations placed towards him. Plus, Netflix dropped him from the other Netflix series he was in. I forgot what it was called, but when the charges came up, he got dumped from that show. So, yeah, he wouldn't be involved in this. But given that Hyde was kind of like an unofficial second son to Kitty and Red, I wish there was at least one line to kind of reference what the character was up to. Kind of like how, even though the circumstances are different, Jeanette McCurdy just gave up. She quit acting, so her being in the iCarly reboot wasn't going to happen. But they had at least one or two lines to acknowledge what Sam, the character, was up to. So I wish they would have referenced Hyde at least once. But I guess the biggest thing about the show is the premise. The show centers on Leia Foreman, the teenage daughter of Eric and Donna. She's 14 when she appears, but she does have the birthday episode, so she's 15, just to give you a kind of a timeline of her age in the series. She forms bonds with other teenagers, and she spends the summer of 1995 with grandparents, which I can relate to. I mean, how many of us weren't dumped off at our grandparents' house for a week or two when we were kids while our parents, just dropped us off without looking back, which kind of sucked, but oh well. Red and Kitty in Point Place, Wisconsin, 15 years after the events of that 70s show. Now, in terms of Leia's circle of friends here, also, just gotta say, the casting for Leia was pretty dang good. The fact that you could see a lot of character traits from both parents. A smart, snarky teenager who craves adventure, and she's the daughter of two of the main characters from the original series. Basically, obviously, she's Donna in terms of being a tall, young female, because that's a reference how, when she was younger, she had a growth spurt, and, she was taller than all the other boys. And, based on her, like, geeky, snarky personality, she gets that from her dad. I definitely see more of her dad in her personality than her mom. Her circle of friends include Gwen, who's, like, the next door neighbor. Bob's house, I think he moved to Florida, so his house sold to someone else. Someone else is living there now. Gwen and what's her brother's name? She has a brother from a different father, but they share the same mother. Nate. Yeah, Gwen and Nate are half siblings, and their mom is Sherry. Runk, R-U-N-C-K are the last names. Sherry took a little while to grow on me, but I liked her as the series went on. Like, she was, I guess, kind of the Bob substitute. But at the same time, you miss Bob. But she grew on me as the series went on because we learned more about her character. But yeah, those two live next door. You have Jay Kelso, who's the son of Michael and Jackie. She's kind of like the love interest for Leia throughout the series. You have Ozzy, who is an insightful, perceptive teen who is openly gay. He's kind of like the Fez of the group, and I'll get into my comparisons in a minute. Like, okay, here's Leia's group of friends, and here is, who you would compare them to from the original. And Nikki, she's kind of like the Jackie. She's Nate's ambitious and intelligent girlfriend. Okay, so Nikki is definitely the Jackie of the group. The one who is well off. Her dad's a doctor. She's smart. Looks like she's going somewhere in life. I guess the major thing is Jackie, her thing was being a professional cheerleader. And I think as that 70s show wrapped up, she was on daytime TV or something, or on the news. I remember she was in TV, something like a talk show host or something like that. But yeah, the fact that Nikki's father's a doctor reminded me of Jackie's father, who I also think was a doctor or something. I know they were well off. I know that much. Gwen is definitely the Steve and Hyde of the group. it's kind of like if Leia is Eric, then you have Gwen, who's Hyde, pretty much, the rebellious one who pushes Leia into letting out her wild side, pretty much being, you know, like the man and stuff like that, like fighting against certain things like exclusive country clubs only having certain members and, being a girl empowerment, things like that. So I definitely think Gwen is the Hyde of the group. You could almost say she's sort of like Donna in terms of what she did for Eric, which was to push Eric out of his comfort zones. So I would definitely say that, but I would definitely put her more in the Hyde category with a splash of Donna. Ozzy, definitely Fez. I mean, different ethnicity than I believe most of, if not the entire group. And, well, while Fez had a different form of speech because he was from a different country, I guess Ozzy speaks differently because he's gay, so he's more feminine with how he talks. But Ozzy has a lot of good one-liners. I mean, it's kind of a commonplace thing for LGBTQ character to be in these shows. And, when their defining trait is their sexuality, it does kind of rob the character of like development. Ozzy's biggest moment was probably episode 5 in Step by Step, where he has like this 16-point plan or 16-step program to when he tells his parents he's gay, and the whole thing centered around like telling random people, and Kitty was the next person on his list, basically an adult figure who he sees on a semi-regular basis. And, it was a sweet moment at the end, between the two, but, I can't really relate to that kind of thing. So, I don't know. But yeah, Ozzy, he has some funny moments. I ain't gonna lie. But, let's see here. Then we get to the weird part. I mean, Leia is definitely the Eric Foreman of the group, but she has some Donna traits, but I think she has the quirkiness of her father, but there are certain moments where she's like sneaky like her mom, like, the whole thing of turning it on Jay, where, the whole thing of episode 4 of The Rave was about saying, I like you, like the first one to say it, gives up the power, that kind of thing. And she flips at the end saying they should just be friends. And then she tells Gwen about her move, and I'm like, that's definitely Donna. She didn't get that from her dad. But yeah, her like snarky, smart mouth definitely got it from Eric. Jay, I mean, I want to say he's Kelso, but I think in a way, Nate, Gwen's brother and Nikki's boyfriend, I mean, Nate and Nikki are like the Kelso and Jackie of the group. And it's kind of funny because Jay, despite being a Kelso, when he's being sweet, he definitely shows more traits of Eric's romantic loving side, than, let's say, Kelso's playboy kind of characteristics, which is something that he portrays. But he is, to me, like the Eric of the group. When he saw Leia, it was kind of like, love at first sight, so to speak. So for me, it's kind of weird. Like, it would be easy to put Jay in the Kelso category because he has this moments of airheadedness, but he is intelligent because, hell, Kelso straight up said, hey, my boy got straight A's last semester, last year. He's got my good looks and his mom's intelligence. And I'm like, yeah, so why are there moments where he's just airheaded? Maybe he has book smarts, but not that much street smarts. I don't know. Nate, like I said, I guess he's supposed to be like the semi-Kelso because him and Jay are like bros. They're like, bro. They both have their airheaded moments and go on adventures. So yeah, it's definitely hard to pick exactly who falls into what category. But like I said, Nikki is definitely Jackie. Gwen is Hyde. Ozzy is Fez. Those three are easily defined. Leia is kind of Eric. And then you have Jay, who's Kelso, but I could definitely put him into the Eric category as well. And then Nate is definitely not a Hyde or a Fez. He's kind of like Kelso with a bit of Eric himself due to romance. And he kind of he fears Nikki leaving him behind once she, goes to college and becomes a doctor or something like that, where he feels like he's going nowhere, which definitely relates to Eric when he feared, Donna blowing up in terms of her success and, leaving him behind. So Yeah, it might be a bit harder to define the other half of the group. But yeah, in terms of the group dynamic, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, look, I'm 31. I remember when the first show came out, so it is kind of hard to tell. I mean, hard to say. Well, I couldn't watch Nikki without thinking of Jackie. You know, like in terms of, oh, that's how she would act. But I did. One of my favorite group moments was when it was just Nikki and Gwen in one episode, and they had to like hang out together because, well, yeah, they also find the stash that, you know, Eric and his friends left in one of the game boxes in the basement. So yeah, they definitely go back to their circle moments. And I gotta say, my favorite one was at the end when it was Fez who had joined the circle, and I think the Moose joined in too. The Moose, who's the Moose? You gotta watch and find out who the Moose is. Oh yeah, also in the first episode, they really did an interesting job, like with the circle moment where I thought it was, oh my god, are Red, Kitty, Donna, and Eric having a circle? They are, but it's upstairs, and the only smoke is from like the popcorn or whatever. It's not what you think. When Red went, how does it feel, kids? You're upstairs people now. Because it's like, yeah, y'all ain't in the basement anymore. So I really did like it. I think the pilot did a good job of really setting the groundwork for the series itself. And maybe I'll do a review on that. Like I said, I'm not doing a episode by episode kind of review because I don't feel like the show really needs it. This kind of video where I just talk about events are good enough. I wish Eric had more time. The funny thing is this. Episode 1 kind of established that Eric and his daughter, Leia, don't really have that good of a relationship since she became a teenager. But when we see Leia interact with her friends, it's like, that she's her dad. That's really what it boils down to. But she's really trying to impress her new friends. Oh, I loved it when Red gave her the Vista Cruiser. We don't see much of the car. We just see her and Jay go out for a night drive, but then get pulled over because the license plates are from the 80s. We saw the water tower. Of course, we had the basement. I forgot the name of the place where the, you know, kids would go to eat and play arcade games and whatnot. I forgot the name of that, you know, that teen spot, but they had that in there too. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. But I think that for me, towards the ending, you know, when summer was over, it was the question of, could Leia and Jay keep up a long distance relationship? And, you know, wait a minute, her and Nate kind of got a thing going on. And given that she only came for the summer and she said she might be back next year, I don't know, maybe we'll get some sort of special, like maybe for the holidays. Because, you know, that 70s show was good for holiday episodes. I remember they had a DVD with nothing but the holiday episodes. I got it. It's like 12 episodes on there from Christmas, Halloween, Thanksgiving. So maybe we'll see them because Eric and Donna, they live in Chicago. And of course, you know, this show takes place in Wisconsin. So I don't know. Maybe they'll be back. I know that Kitty said they hadn't seen them since Christmas. So from December to July. So I don't know. Maybe we'll get like a random special. I doubt it though. Maybe in season 2. But if the show does get a season 2, it probably won't come out until 2024. It's like the following summer. But that's the thing, though. That's a long time. That 70s show worked because all the characters were in the same place. Like, we would see them in school, you know, of course, then on different vacations. So how is this going to work out? I mean, this is the 90s, so there's no, like, Skype, FaceTime, or well, there are cell phones. Well, not cell phones, but are they cell phones? Those humongous phones, whatever you call them back in the day. So I'm really curious to see, will there be random trips back to Wisconsin at some point? But yeah, I might do a couple of breakaway videos, but just to kind of sum it up, I like the show. This was like a nostalgic guilty pleasure. It's just enough episodes so you can really feel like, oh wow, this takes me back to that 70s show. Some would argue that it relies too heavily on the OG characters, but I don't really think so. I think they did a good job of blending the old with the new. Sure, I feel like I was paying more attention when, like, let's say Fez was on screen compared to what Ozzy was up to, but I mean, that's all well and good. Again, I'm 31. I'm not going to really be super interested in what the teenagers are doing all the time. I think there were some interesting moments between Leia and Jay, like when she was, what was it, episode 3, when she was trying to get her first kiss. I thought that was pretty funny. You know, how the whole premise of the episode was I'm like, yeah, this is definitely her dad, freaking out about everything. There are moments in the show where when her and Jay are together, she lets the thoughts of, like, let's say Gwen and Nikki get inside of her head. She overthinks things, leading to some awkward moments. Again, classic Eric Foreman right there. But yeah, all that's to say, hey, that 90s show, I'd recommend it. Like I said, I finished it in a couple hours. Mind you, I was watching at, almost double speed. But if you watch it at, regular time, you'll be done in about 3 hours or so. So I'd say at some point over the weekend, if you got a couple hours to burn and you just want to kick back and have a taste of nostalgia, that 90s show, I'd give it a recommendation. Like I said at the beginning, I'd score it about a solid 7.5 out of 10. Yeah. I mean, given we live in a day and age of nostalgic remakes or sequel series or reboots of classic things we remember growing up, I think that 90s show holds up pretty well. Like I said, given that Red and Kitty were definitely at the forefront of the series. I mean, yes, Leia was the main character, but that's the one thing about that 70s show that I remember liking as well as other people. It's just that the adults weren't just pushed into the background and only seen as obstacles to the the teens, but they actually have interesting storylines and development for themselves. And I think one of my favorite moments was in the birthday episode where Red had a very touching moment with Leia, just explaining to her because she's freaking out about how, I thought I had an idea of how everything worked and it's also lost to me. And then Red said something so profound. It's like, hey, just to let you know, we're all making it up as we go along. And I'm like, dang, that's pretty cool. And it just shows he isn't as much of a hard ass on Leia as he was with Eric, but at the same time he did have those moments where you could tell he was a not one to spare the rod to spoil the child, but he did have those moments where the love he has for his family does show. Also, speaking of family, Lori was not seen or mentioned at all. I mean, I know that in the original series they swapped actresses and the OG actress unfortunately passed away in real life, but there wasn't a mention of Lori at all. I was kind of shocked by that. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you want me to do more of that 90s show content, let me know and I'll think about it. But I won't even think about it. I'll do it. If there's enough people who want me to do it, I will talk about the show because I did really like it. So let's talk about it more in the comments. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.